The day my father died, I thought the hardest part would be saying goodbye. I was wrong. The hardest part was sitting in a courtroom 6 weeks later, listening to my own wife tell a judge that I deserved nothing. She didn't even look at me. Instead, she stood confidently beside her attorney and said, "Michael hasn't been part of this family in years. My father-in-law knew exactly who he could trust." Every eye in the courtroom turned toward me. Even worse, some people actually nodded. For a second, I wondered if everyone believed her. I had spent 12 years helping my father build our family's construction business from the ground up. Long nights, missed birthdays, holidays spent at job sites. And now, according to my wife, I was nothing more than a greedy son trying to steal money after my father's death. If you've ever had someone rewrite your entire life while you were sitting only a few feet away, you know how helpless that feels. The judge quietly asked her attorney to continue. He placed several documents on the table. "There is no legally executed will naming Mr. Michael Carter as the primary heir," he said. My stomach dropped. That couldn't be true. I had personally watched my father sign his will 2 years earlier. I remembered the afternoon perfectly. He even joked that I'd probably complain about having to pay property taxes one day. So, where had that will gone? My attorney leaned toward me. "Stay calm," he whispered. Easy for him to say. Across the room, my wife finally looked at me. Not with sadness, not with regret. She smiled. A tiny smile. The kind that only someone who already thinks they've won would make. That's when I realized something. This wasn't just about money. She had planned this. Every cold conversation over the past year, every excuse, every late night, every missing document in my father's office, every argument that suddenly made no sense. It all came rushing back. The judge announced a 15-minute recess before reviewing additional evidence. People stood and began leaving the courtroom. I stayed frozen in my chair. Then, an older woman slowly walked toward me. I recognized her immediately. She had been my father's legal assistant for nearly 25 years. She looked terrified. She leaned down and whispered just one sentence. "I know where the real will is." My heart stopped, but before I could ask another word, 2 court officers suddenly stepped between us. The courtroom hallway fell silent as the 2 court officers politely separated us. "Ma'am, you'll need to wait until the recess is over." The elderly woman lowered her eyes and quietly walked away without another word. I wanted to run after her. Instead, I stood there wondering why someone who had worked beside my father for 25 years looked so frightened. My attorney noticed my expression. "Do you know her?" I nodded. "Her name is Linda. She handled Dad's legal files for decades." He frowned. "If she knows something, we'll get her on the record." Before I could answer, I heard familiar footsteps behind me. My wife. She stopped only a few feet away. "I hope you're finally ready to let this go," she said calmly. "There was never a will leaving everything to you." I stared at her. "You sound awfully confident." She smiled. "Because I know the truth." Then she turned and walked away. Something about those words didn't feel natural. She wasn't guessing. She sounded certain. Almost rehearsed. A few minutes later, court resumed. Linda was called as a witness. She looked nervous as she raised her right hand and took the oath. My wife's attorney stood first. "Mrs. Parker, did you ever personally see a signed final will naming Michael Carter as sole heir?" Linda hesitated. For nearly 5 seconds. "No," she finally answered. My heart sank. Even my own attorney looked surprised. But then he stood. "Mrs. Parker, during your 25 years working for Mr. Carter, what was your responsibility after legal documents were signed? To scan them, log them, and place the originals in the firm's secured archive. Could someone remove a document without authorization?" She swallowed. "Not without leaving a record." The courtroom became completely still. My attorney took one slow step forward. "Then why? Is there no archive record for Mr. Carter's final will?" Linda closed her eyes. When she opened them again, tears were forming. "Because," she whispered, "someone ordered me to delete it." A wave of whispers exploded across the courtroom. The judge immediately struck the gavel. "Order!" My wife suddenly sat forward in her chair. For the first time all morning, she looked worried. My attorney didn't waste a second. Who gave you that order? Linda looked directly across the courtroom. Not at me, not at the judge, at my wife. You did. The room erupted. My wife's attorney immediately jumped to his feet. Objection, pure speculation. But the judge didn't respond right away. He simply looked at Linda. Mrs. Parker, making a false statement under oath is a felony. Linda slowly reached into her purse. I know, Your Honor. She pulled out a small sealed envelope. I've been carrying this for almost 2 years because your father told me, she looked at me with tears in her eyes, to give it to the court only if someone ever claimed his will had disappeared. The entire courtroom froze. The judge accepted the envelope himself. He looked at the wax seal, then he looked up. His expression changed instantly. Without saying another word, he ordered the bailiff to lock the courtroom doors. The heavy courtroom doors slammed shut. No one moved. The judge carefully examined the wax seal before looking at both attorneys. This seal appears untouched, he said. If it has been tampered with, we'll know immediately. You could hear people breathing. Even my wife avoided looking at me. The judge broke the seal and unfolded a single document. His eyes scanned the page once, then again. The silence somehow became even heavier. Finally, he looked up. I understand now. My wife's attorney stood quickly. Your Honor, we'd like to review the document before. The judge raised his hand. You will. He turned toward me. Mr. Carter, your father signed a legally executed final will 18 months before his death. A lump formed in my throat. The judge continued reading. The document clearly states that Michael Carter is the sole owner of the family business, all company assets, and every property listed in the estate. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Then came the sentence that changed everything. The judge looked directly at my wife and said 5 calm words. You built your case on fraud. The room went completely silent. My wife's face lost all color. Her attorney slowly lowered his head. But the judge wasn't finished. He held up another sheet that had been sealed inside the envelope. It also includes a signed statement explaining why Mr. Carter kept this document hidden. I frowned. Hidden. The judge read aloud. If this will ever disappears, the person responsible is someone I once trusted inside my own family. That is why I instructed my legal assistant to keep this sealed copy for the court. Linda quietly wiped away tears. She hadn't betrayed my father. She had honored his final request. The judge immediately dismissed the fraudulent estate claim and ordered a criminal investigation into the missing original will and the altered estate records. Within minutes, investigators collected computers, archived files, and financial records from the law office. A week later, the truth was impossible to deny. Emails, deleted file logs, and security records proved that my wife had pressured Linda to erase the archive entry after secretly gaining access to confidential documents. Linda refused to destroy the sealed backup, and that single decision exposed the entire scheme. The court restored every asset to me. My wife didn't lose because I took revenge. She lost because every lie she told left behind evidence. Months later, I sold part of the business, started a scholarship in my father's name for young construction apprentices, and finally found something money could never buy. Peace. My father had once told me, a person's character isn't tested when life is easy. It's tested when the truth takes longer than the lies. He was right, so let me ask you something. If someone you loved betrayed you for money, but the truth eventually cleared your name, would you ever forgive them, or would you walk away forever?